Hey guys, gals, and everything in between. What's going on? It's been a while. All right, so let's what is recursive ethics? Since Thought Slime said that I'm a fascist because I teach ethics, recursive logic and ethics, which is a thing. If you Google recursive ethics and like something like Brave search engine Leo, you'll get this summary right here. What is recursive ethics? Recursive ethics involves applying ethical considerations to itself, meaning how we speak and reason about ethics in an activity to which ethical considerations and questions apply. This concept is explored by drawing parallels between design and cybernetics, where each field can act as its own meta discipline, allowing for a recursive approach to ethics as well. Designers incorporate implicit ethical questioning as part of the recursive process through which they design their design activity. Moving between conversations that pursue the goals of a project and meta conversations in which they question the goals to pursue and methods they employ in doing so. This recursive ethical questioning offers a way to cope with the incommensurability of valuable values and goals that is commonplace given the fragmented state of contemporary ethics, which is no ethics at all. It allows for ethical reflection about how we design and how we constitute the relationship between designers and those they design for. All right. The concept of recursive ethics is also linked to the idea that our claims to knowledge are intertwined with the purposes we pursue and our relationships with others and the world, which is a starting point for applying ethical considerations nested within ethical discourse itself. So here's a basic example. Every cycle of oppression functions through the illusion of justified control, whether geopolitical, psychological, or ideological. My reference to drone strikes is an empirical example of recursive oppression. Action: drone strike kills civilians. Reaction: survivors radicalize in response. Narrative: survivors are now labeled terrorists. System outcome: the state claims further justification to escalate. This is not just cause and effect, it's recursive feedback where oppression not only repeats, it self replicates and mutates its moral narrative just to stay justified. The dynamic is visible in US foreign policy, Iraq, Yemen, Pakistani drone campaigns, colonial rebranding as liberation, and moral gaslighting of populations post crisis. It is the systemic logic of manufactured blame. Recursive logic and ethics are practical frameworks for analyzing situations deeply, consistently, and rigorously, not just making an accusation and then doing nothing to back it up like Steve Shives and every other fake leftist, fake equality. This guide will clearly demonstrate how recursion functions practically as a personal intellectual tool, not abstract nonsense, like Thought Slime says. Recursion isn't merely repetition or circular reasoning, it's iteration with intent. Each recursive step checks the validity of previous reasoning, adds new context, and integrates deeper insights. It grows. It doesn't reduce, it grows. Imagine climbing a spiral staircase. You're repeatedly moving upwards, but each loop elevates your viewpoint and gives you new perspectives. How to apply recursive logic personally. 1. State clearly. Define your initial statement or belief. Example: authority figures never lie. Check against reality. First recursion. Test your statement. So see here, you're going from 2 to 1. This is recursion. So you're checking 1 by doing 2. And 2, you're checking 1 recursively. It's not backwards. If it was backwards, 6 would be 1 up here and then 1 would be here. That would be backwards. That's not recursive, that's backwards. You see, bullies and fascists just use their own interpretation of words that are already established, right? Each word has their own individual meaning, which is why there's so many different words for specific things and synonyms, which, delve deeper into specificity. So, test your statement with real world examples. Has an authority figure ever lied? Yes. Update belief. Second, recursion. So you're going 3 and then going back, like not backwards, you're going recursively, going from 3 to 2. Update your belief. Update 2. Adapt your statement based on evidence. Authority figures sometimes lie. Step 4. Examine consequences. Third recursion of 3. Ask what happens if everyone believes your revised statement. People remain cautious, good, but trust suffers. What does caution do? Step 5. Evaluate deeper implications. Fourth recursion. If caution erodes first, cautious. If caution erodes trust, could it harm healthy relationships? Overly cautious relationships are strained. Is universal caution always positive? What does caution do? Yeah. Okay. And then step 6, refine again to be more accurate and balanced. Authority figures can lie. Critical thinking is necessary. Trust requires evidence, which is what everyone harassing me is never doing, right? Because if they don't acknowledge me, then they don't have to prove it, and they can't prove it. And this is what every fascist and Nazi does, right? They make claims without any proof, and they dename a person, which is dehumanizing, which mirrors fascists and Nazis in World War II, how they stripped the Jews of their names and gave them numbers, right? They removed their name, their identity, so they removed their ability to speak, which is what leftists like Thought Slime are doing against me by comparing me to people like Elon Musk. Elon Musk doesn't teach ethics. He just claims to teach ethics. There's a distinct difference. And it's like I have all this evidence to back up what I'm saying, but people are just too stupid, lazy, and just outright bullies. Ethical example: lying is always morally wrong, which is an absolute moral absolutism. A friend asks if you like their gift, but you don't say yes to avoid hurt feelings. Contradicts original axiom immediately. Recursion 2. Does your lie cause harm or prevent harm? Prevents immediate hurt but may erode trust if discovered. Recursion 3. If everyone lies for minor convenience, trust collapses, clearly harmful. If no one ever lies, even to save lives or feelings, outcomes can be harmful, also problematic. Recursion 4. Lying is generally wrong due to trust erosion, except when honesty causes unnecessary harm. Thus, recursive ethics doesn't allow absolute statements easily. It forces nuanced, context-sensitive ethical refinement. But I would argue for absolute honesty, which is basically why I guess people hate me, but they can't say why they hate me. I guess it's because it's the truth. They know it's the truth, but they just can't accept the truth. They can't handle the truth. Using recursion to evaluate conspiracy theories, as seen from my growingly popular post on Reddit, which now almost has 2,000 views in just a day. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of leftists are gonna steal my content and pass it off as their own. And when I do, I'm gonna refer to this video and their video. Demonstration method: no secrets, just structure. Statement: the government spies on its citizens. Recursion 1. Check direct evidence. NSA Snowden revealed spying. True, partially. Recursion 2. Broader claim: everyone is always spied on. Evidence doesn't support total constant surveillance equals false in absolute form. Recursion 3. Refined statement: government can spy and has spied. Mass surveillance exists, but not universal and absolute. Recursion 4. Implications: is it paranoia or justified caution, right? Some paranoia is actually healthy, right? If because it asks you to question things and it can get you to think about things that you normally wouldn't, that can end up helping you. Warranted caution given evidence, but unwarranted paranoia is harmful. Balanced caution is advised. Recursively, a conspiracy theory initially exaggerated becomes balanced, justified caution without descending into paranoia or ignorance like right wingers, right? Practical recursive logic checklist. Use this simple checklist daily to apply recursion clearly. Define clearly what is my exact claim or ethical belief. Reality check. Does real evidence support this? First order impact. What immediately happens if everyone follows this? Second order impact. What happens after sustained application? Meta consistency. Is the belief still coherent when applied to itself? Refinement. Adjust the belief or claim to resolve contradictions. And this is this is my paradox. This is the hypersanity paradox, right? It works in recursion. So instead of collapsing and then not making sense, it actually grows from collapsing. So the growth is from refinement. So normally here, without recursive ethics, it would just end right here. It wouldn't end to refinement. It wouldn't end to, correcting yourself. You know, only a stupid person just tries to design a scaffold of an ethical framework and then doesn't constantly update it. So blaming someone for updating inconsistencies is literal fascism. Recursive logic versus circular reasoning. Summary. Direction: endless loop without progress. Spirals upwards with each iteration. Purpose: justifies itself without proof. Recursive logic self-examines and demands proof. Circular reasoning reinforces biases, which is what thought slime does. Recursive logic reduces biases through continual checking. Circular reasoning: stagnant, rigid ideas. Recursive logic: flexible, self-correcting beliefs. Conclusion: when properly understood and applied, recursion is neither nonsense nor abstraction. It's a structured method of refining beliefs, testing ethical principles, and developing clearer, more balanced views of reality, not their beliefs. By practicing recursion, you actively prevent stagnation, hypocrisy, and uncritical thought, fundamental elements of hypersanity, which is why thought slime is a hyposane malevolent, hypovolent, which is hyposane malevolence, in other words. It's like, think Machiavelli, but instead of using intelligence to cause harm, they use ignorance and stupidity, which causes bias, and then circular reasoning, as I've just proven. So, yeah, if you want to learn real morality, real ethics, follow me. Don't follow fascist bullies that call victims the bullies, the fascists.